We are live.
Cool. Dom, really quickly, turn your mic on.
Okay, yeah, it's on.
Is there any noise? No, nothing yet. All right.
There's nothing yet.
There's ruckus.
Oh,
Dom's having his store and his warehouse worked on. It sounds like they're cutting through like steel over there or concrete
steel, yeah.
Going on concrete.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do here today, we're gonna celebrate a little bit. We're gonna do some high-fiving. Episode 400 finally went live today.
Nice.
So that's a pretty good thing. Pretty exciting. Sent an email out this morning, celebrating and really getting excited about it because it's just been an amazing ride, amazing connections, being able to meet people like Dom and Chris and everyone else on our team and being able to help a ton of people. I mean, I have a whole wall over here that is dedicated to all the letters and everything I've received since the podcast. So it's just been really, really awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And also the episode that went live today was really the 9 takeaways. And I kind of want maybe to kind of buzz through them really quickly, but then let people go listen to it. But I think they're worth mentioning again, even in just a quick little, we'll kind of rip through them because they're really important. I also want to talk a little bit about something that happened to me this week. We actually talked about it yesterday on our workshop last night, and I wanted to talk about how I discovered a hot market that I wasn't aware of until 3 days ago, and kind of talk about how I figured that out. And no, I'm not going into that market, but I could if I had more bandwidth and if I had more people, and if I wanted to take on more, but I don't want to. But we're going to share that, and yeah, Chris. Is everything cool? Is everybody in the chat?
Everybody looks like we're rocking and rolling. Ali let us know. He said, yeah, sound is perfect. Guys, if you are on with us live, let us know that you can see us. Let us know that you can hear us. Because if we want to stand here and talk to ourselves, we can. But we're here to hang out with you guys. And if you can't see or hear us, that defeats the entire purpose. So let us know inside the Facebook comments right now that you can see us, that you can hear us. And as always, guys, if you have any questions as we work our way through the stuff that we're talking about today, leave them in there. We are going to save a big chunk of today for Q&A. Like Scott said, we're going to talk about a few things really quick. One is episode 400. And Scott, if I'm not mistaken, there's a celebrity intro for that episode as well. So if you guys haven't checked that out, check it out for sure. And we're going to share a little bit of the stuff that you found yesterday, Scott, and just a few quick things about getting started right, because that was a thing that you talked about on Monday with our buddy JB. So I wanted to kind of recap on that for everybody as well.
Yeah. No, it was a great week. We had a lot of exciting things going on, TAS wise, but then also in our new brand. I know Dom was buried in a big closeout that he was dealing with, and going through that whole process. So Dom, how's everything going over there? I know you might unmute. We might hear a lot of noise, but we're having some work done. So how's it going?
Everything's going great, man. It's a hectic week. Last couple of weeks. This is the time of the year for my business. People start clearing out stuff because back to school stuff's coming on. And the biggest thing in Canada is obviously not much people will know, but the NHL licensing is changing over from Reebok to Adidas starting September. So all the distributors that I work with, because I do a lot of NHL stuff. Here it goes, let it rip.
Oh, that is funny. Someone's cutting down a wall in Dom's facility there.
Nice.
All right, well, Dom, we're going to come back to you. Why don't you mute that baby down? And wow, that is crazy. That brings back memories. That's actually flashbacks of me. Actually, a really crazy story I'm going to share because that reminded me of this. When we were doing our, I was actually building up in our basement. I was putting a photography studio in when we did our photography business. I had a nice waiting room. I had a nice viewing room. I had a studio. I built the whole thing. Took my whole basement over, and our house then was like 2,800 square foot. Did the whole basement. So we didn't want people going through our house. So I wanted to create a doorway going from kind of the front of the house, but on the side down into the basement. So, I knew how to do all that stuff. So I dug it all out and everything went there. Now we've got a poured wall in there, concrete wall. It wasn't block. If it was block, it would have been fine.
Knock it out.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing. And I'm going to basically rent a big old masonry saw. And I'm going to cut it and knock it out. I figured it'd take me 3 hours. Well, number one, I took tarps and everything on the inside. And that's where I started. Made my holes, did everything. I started on that thing. I had a big respirator and everything because it's, carbon monoxide with the, I literally thought I was going to die that day. I got about halfway up the wall. I had a buddy with me. I put the saw down. I walk up the stairs, holding onto the walls. I walked out to the front porch. I sat down, and he's like, "Are you all right?" I go, I think I'm going to the other side. And I wasn't even kidding. So then from there, I went ahead and rented like a little mini jackhammer for the wall, and I chiseled the entire thing. It took me the entire day, like 14 hours. I remember going to bed. My hands were swollen, but I got it done. And I basically chipped. I chipped a whole doorway in there. We framed it all up, put a door in there, and I did a lot of business through that door. But that right there reminded me of that saw, which kind of was like a flashback to really a bad memory. All right, so I want to remind people, if you're watching this on Facebook, on the fan page, you have the ability to share this and like it. Would you do that for us? Would you go ahead? Hey, Nick, what's going on? Would you go ahead and do that for us? Could you share this and like it? Maybe even leave a comment if you have any questions. Do that for us. We want to make sure that you're here. We want you guys to celebrate with us today, too, because it's episode 400 if you're just tuning in. 400 episodes. We're about 2.5 years in, and the 3-year mark is this February, and just crossed over 8 million downloads, and hopefully we're going to continue to grow, and probably we're hoping, and by my predictions, if I have them right, probably by the 3rd year, which will be this February, we should be over the 10 million mark. So, wow, really excited about that. Yeah, really excited about that, and it's been an awesome ride.
Good stuff, Scott. Congratulations, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
That's crazy.
It is awesome. Let's go ahead and dig in, Chris. What do we want to start with?
So I think what we want to start with, Scott, is your story from, was it yesterday or was it Wednesday?
It was like 3 days ago.
You know, and you guys, if you hang out with us on the lives especially, you hear us talk a lot about the touch list. And if you're looking for your first product, you're trying to get started, the touch list is a thing that you should be doing. It's, in my opinion, the thing that you should be doing to start. And it's not like a one-time exercise, right, Scott? Like everybody thinks, oh, I did my touch list for today. But every day you touch different things. And so if you can come at it with that mindset of everything I touch is a potential product, which is something that as you guys start to go through this process, you arrive at, you can come up with some really cool things as you're working your way through the day. And Scott, you had that exact experience once this week, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and I want to ask Dom this question. Dom, I know you're not really a big fan of finding products by looking at tools. You're more or less looking at like trends and like what's happening maybe in your own life or people's lives around you. Talk about that really quickly. Is that how you mainly find the products that you're private labeling?
Yeah, I mean, for the first brands that I've done before, you know, we started working as a team, I basically found a business model and followed that and put a bunch of, you know, brands, just like you're doing now with your new brand, same thing. But for the Oprah brand, yeah, a lot of the stuff either comes because I'm already getting on liquidation and I look at it, I get it in my hand, I get a couple thousand pieces and I look and I go, oh my God, it sells on Amazon already. I'll just private label it, you know, because, or the stuff I have is not, could be generic. So that's one way we'll do it. Two, yeah, we just kind of same thing. I'll run into something, just like when we talked a couple months ago, you said, I needed one of these. Chris needed something. He looked online and we're selling hundreds a month. Yeah. It just by fluke, a lot of stuff. And then other times, because I'm digging deep, looking for something else, there's another product that we're getting ready to source that I talked to you about, and you know specifically
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you're like, oh, that sells? And I said, yeah, those two things sell like crazy. I would have never thought, it's just because I was looking for something, and I ran into it. And then I dug deeper, and I found something else that went with that. So, again, not a big niche market, like a small niche market, but there's nobody in it. So that's basically how I kind of find it. It's a little harder because, you know, for open brand, you kind of have to have ones that are going to work out because you can't teammate them with anything. You can't. Right. You got to make sure it's a hit right away, or you're just going to lose. You know, it's not going to be successful. So yeah, a lot of times it's like that, and then you know, a lot of trends. We like trends, accessories. That's a big thing for us too. Yeah, just.
But I guess the question, the question, Don, before I do share my story with trends, we had a question on this last night. Like, you know, fidget spinners were trends too, right? Yeah. And sure, you know, my son came to me with that before it was even hot, and I said, nah, I'm not doing it, right? Yeah. Because I knew that it was going to be just a matter of time that it was going to be. But I think you're also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're also looking at a trend that could possibly stick around, but then also might not be where everyone's going to jump into this thing. So there's got to be a little bit of a balance there, and I think that's the hard part. You don't want to get stuck with, like I had another guy the other night say, you know, Scott, you know, I want to plan right now just how to liquidate my fidget spinners. Like, how do I do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's trying to liquidate their fidget spinners now.
Well, and that's something I think, and it's something I wanted to talk about last night. It's a question we actually missed last night. It was the one that escaped me that I couldn't find that I said was really good. Somebody said, well, is there anything wrong with seasonal products? Because you, like, Scott, you and I last night were like, check to see if it's seasonal and then make a decision. The answer is no. And Dom, you've built most of the Open brand off of seasonal products, but you have products for every season in there.
Right.
Those
there,
things,
that's the key right there.
Seasonal products and trends are fine if you know that they are trends or seasonal products, right?
Yes,
you don't want to be surprised by that on the back end. And I think, Scott, what you're talking about, like, you looked at the fidget spinner and you went, it costs nothing to produce. Everybody wants one. This thing's going to blow up. But do I want to be involved in that? Do I want to play that game? No. But you just as easily could have said, I know it's a trend. Do I make $50,000 in profit in the next 3 months and then get stuck with 1,000 of them and figure out what to do with that?
Right.
So as long as you know that up front, it's okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of that products. Like that's why we talked about many times on here. We talked about we release stuff for different seasons every month. Every month you can release 2 to 3 to 4 different products for whether it's back to school or, I mean, forget about fourth quarter again. I mean, that's anything pretty well solves. But I'm talking back to school, all that type of stuff, house cleaning. But I mentioned this before. When we do our trends, I only follow trends where there's a major brand name involved. Like, like the fidget spinners, I didn't want to get involved because there's no Hasbro. There was nobody doing it. Like the squishy toys we're going to do, no good. Another trend, the Eclipse sunglasses, it's over. The Eclipse is tomorrow. I mean, the guys are selling millions. I showed you how much they were selling every month. But after tomorrow, you're going to be sitting on them forever, or this weekend. So, yeah, we follow that. And again, it could be a risk reward. If you're first to market, you do very well.
Right.
If you're 50th to market, you'll not do so well. If you're 25th, you'll do all right. Like there's a couple of people that we know that are into fidget spinners. I know one of the guys that came to first TAS meetup, and one of Bill Strutwell's good friends. He's into the fidget spinners, and he did all right. But again, I don't know where they are in the process now.
Right.
But you're never going to build a business off that. You're going to get some cash and collateral real quickly, but you're going to be stuck. Now, again, we've hit some pretty good ones. We have the Christmas ones, right? The one that just keeps selling out. I can't keep it in stock, and now we're going to finally source it from China. Who knows how long the trend's going to go? Right. But at $2, $3 a piece, at 1,000 pieces, or 2,000, I'm willing to take the hit. I'll just liquidate them.
Well, and again, I think if we're talking about flipping to get cash flow, that's a different story. But it's also that's a tough balance. Is all I'm saying. And for people that are just getting into it, it's like if you're putting the energy into it, you gotta understand that it is going to probably fizzle out, or at least it's going to be a seasonal product where that right now you're going to sell through them, and then from there you're probably going to hold off and then wait till the next season comes. And then the other question I always get is, do I start promoting before the season, or do I wait until the season?
I put it in all the time right away. It doesn't matter.
There it is. There it is.
That's Dom, the timer. That's our timer for this week.
We're going to come back to you. That meant that, Dom, you're done talking. That guy is...
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about when you release it. It really doesn't matter.
There it is. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so my only thing, Dom, is if we're into the like, let's say we're into the school year. Right now, my daughter just went back to school. Today's her second day. All right? So... in where I was from originally, up north, it was September. So it's about a 2-week gap, right? But if that's the case, then I probably want to get myself started to be seen or starting to have some sales before that season actually starts, so I can be ranking when the traffic comes.
Way before that.
So how do you do that, Dom? Do you just do pay per click? Do you what's your strategy?
I mean, it's the same thing as if you were a buyer for a major retailer. You're always buying 6 months to years ahead. You're not buying your Christmas stuff this month. You're buying it 6 to 8 months ago.
Point.
So you have time to get it already, display. The retailers have to do their POPs, their placements, their product play, all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's all. I wouldn't do crazy heavy PPC because you're not going to sell a lot. But by the time you get to your season, you're already going to have all those history on the keywords. You're going to show some movement, some sales. You're going to get your reviews done. Again, any product that we get in, because I'll always have 1 or 2 products that'll get released like 2 to 3 weeks before Christmas. Yep. They rarely do very well just because there's just not enough history behind them. Right. So, but products that are ramping up now, especially you guys with your new brand, your stuff's ramping up like crazy. By the time you get to Christmas, you're going to have 6 months of heavy history, and it's just going to start bang, 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 bang. Like that's
assuming we ever get back in stock. But yeah.
Well, that's being out of stock is totally different than having a good product that sells. Listen, if you can run out of stock every day on something, you're obviously doing something pretty good.
Right.
So yeah, you have to think it through. Yeah. You just have to, again. I would have a game plan, though. I wouldn't come in, I'm going to sell backpacks because back to school's this week, or sprinklers 2 months ago, because I knew Arizona and Texas, it was going to be hot like crazy, so I'm going to sell. If you want to do something every month or do all summer stuff and all winter stuff, then it's cool. But, again, a lot of people are successful with trends or that type of stuff. But
it's a whole other business model, and it's all business model. There's people right now that are doing exactly what you've said in the past. They're buying all year for fourth quarter. They're just loading up on toys, right? And then they're just going to send it in time, so that way they can blow through it all and make 6 figures, and that's their salary for the year. Like they're okay with that. Yep. So they're happy. There's different business models for everyone, and it just depends on what you want to do. Okay, but we went way off on a tangent there for my story, but let me just get back to my story, because a lot of people get hung up with the product research stuff, and they're just like, okay, so I'm going to rely on the tool to tell me what to pick. And I never go about it that way. The way that I go about it is exactly what happened to me 3 days ago. So I'm going to fill you guys in on a little story. We moved here about a year and 2 months ago, something like that, right? And before we moved here, though, I was always a fan of like getting a Jeep with the top down. It'd be kind of cool, right? So I have a second car that I let my son drive. Well, that car, we leased it, so the lease is becoming due. Now I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to renew the lease, or am I just going to? I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to get a Jeep. That's what I want. And then he'll just drive whatever car's in the driveway going back and forth to school, right? So I said, let's go ahead and see what we can do. So I went to the Jeep dealer. And of course, I don't just want like a regular plain Jeep. I want one that's got a lift. I want one that's got the nice tires. I want the one that the hard top. I want a nice Jeep, right? But I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I got this education. I know what the Sport is. I know what the Wrangler is, the Sahara, and the Rubicon. I know all the differences. I got educated. So as I'm getting educated, he's telling me about resale value, and he's telling me like, these things are like, I'm telling you right now, you can look at one 12 to 15 years old, they're going to sell for $18,000, $20,000, $22,000. Like they're going to hold it. And I'm like, holy crap. So, and he's like, yeah, there's these meetups people go to. They're like diehard fans. And I'm like, So I'm sitting here, he's running through numbers and stuff, and I'm thinking private label stuff. I'm like, well, I want to get the guards for my taillights. I want to get the hitch package. I want to get the screen that goes over the T-top area. I want to get the grab bar holder on top. Like, I want all these accessories eventually too. So I'm like, I guess what I got to do is go home and kind of dig in. And it blew my mind. So yesterday on our workshop, I basically shared an example of some ideas that I got just from digging into that stuff for 15 minutes. But I had no idea before I went in there, okay? Never knew that the Jeep market was like this huge like culture. It's a fan base. And it's kind of like Mini Coopers, Porsches. Like they all have their own community, they have their own meetups. They're all like, they drive on the road, they pass each other, they're like, hey, it's like a motorcycle rider, right? They drive by, they're always like, hey, what's up? You're part of the group, right? I never knew it. And Greg, it's funny. So basically, my point is this. I had no idea this existed until I went in looking for a Jeep. I got a great education from the salesperson. He knew it up and down, and he was a Jeep geek, as they call themselves. Like, he was just totally geeking out with all of this stuff. And he's telling me all about the different suspension in the Rubicon. You're paying for different suspension in the Rubicon than you are for the Wrangler, because when you go over rocks, the wheels will actually bow out like that, and will climb rocks and stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. So I'm learning all this stuff. So now I'm like, let me go and see what accessories are being sold to this market. And there's tons. So that's my story. And just to let you guys know, there's that stuff happening in your life every single day that you're just not paying attention to. So I want you to be aware. I want you to ask questions. I want you to listen to people's conversations. I want you to do a touch list, because every day your touch list can be a little bit different. I touched the Jeep that day. I didn't touch one up till that point. But, things kind of changed there, right? The other funny story is, I'm going to add this. I didn't share this last night, but I'm going to share it here. As I'm going through the, they bring me into the finance guy, and they're like, okay, let's start looking at rates and all this stuff. And then he's like, so what do you do? And I go, I'm in e-commerce. That's the easiest way for me to explain what I do, right?
We actually just got that question. How do you explain what you do? So that's
he's like, so what's that mean? And I go, well, we basically sell physical products online, And he's like, oh, really? And I go, yeah, on Amazon. He goes, isn't that a pain? And I go, no, actually, it's really easy. And have you ever heard of FBA? And he's like, no. And I go, it's fulfilled by Amazon. I went through the whole drill. Like, I'm giving this.
You did a workshop. I
did basically a workshop in 20 minutes inside. I think he wasn't even caring about the Jeep thing at this point. At this point, he's like, about 3 years ago, I knew this guy. He had licensing with I think it was college ball, maybe NHL. He goes, and I was thinking about doing like some type of cover for a grill. What do you think about that? He goes, I already looked at the pricing. I could probably get them this. They sell for about $100, $120. And I'm like, it's a great idea. I don't have the bandwidth for it, but it's a great idea, and you gotta source it for this, then you ship it into Amazon. Wait a minute, you can ship stuff in there and they'll fulfill it for you? Yeah. So we're not even talking Jeep stuff at this point. So if I wanted to, I could have said to the guy, listen, you've got the connection to the guy that's got licensing. You've already done the sourcing as far as like, where you can kind of find it. I can help you with that. But then from there, I can help you with the marketing side of things and get you up to speed because you have no idea what's happening there.
Now, if only there was a podcast he could listen to.
I didn't even tell him that, though.
I
didn't even tell him to go there. I didn't even tell him to go there. They'll look my name up, trust me. But anyway, so that's my story. Like, there's two things that came away from me going to the Jeep dealer, right? Two things, and it's just funny that when you get into conversations with people, you'll realize very quickly that you know a lot more about a certain topic than someone else. And in this case, you know about e-commerce, you know about private labeling and FBA. You may be able to help someone that has no idea. A lot of people say, well, how do I get started? I don't even know what to pick. Maybe go to your brick and mortar store that has no idea about selling their soaps online, and they have this organic soap line, and then you're going to help them with packaging, and you're going to say, listen, I'll help you do this, but I'm going to get 50% of the sales, the profit from any sale we get online. It's bonus to them. What do they care? They don't want to do it. And there you can strike a deal. So that's what I would suggest. But anyway, Chris, what's your thoughts on kind of that stuff?
Well, it's funny that you bring up the Jeep story because I was just chatting with our friend Melissa Armstrong, who she and Keith are moving their daughter to college this weekend. I live in a college town, right? And I was thinking this morning, it's funny, touchless stuff, right? Think about all the things, and Scott, you probably don't know this, but when you move into a college dorm room, there's 100 things that people bring with them that you could potentially private label, right? Every single student that is moving into a dorm room this weekend has like plastic totes, right, that collapse and fit under their bed. And they have little stilts to put their twin-size bed on so that they can get storage under it. And and there's 100,000 things that you would see or that like Melissa and Keith are going to touch this weekend that they probably would never touch otherwise because they're not moving in and out of college every day, right? But it's one of those things where every situation you're in, any place you go, whether you're on vacation, whether you're just out at Target and you see somebody with a really cool phone case, any of those kinds of things can turn into product ideas. And that's the idea behind the touch list, right? If you kind of keep a running log of those things, you run into those. Melissa said, oh my God, Walmart threw up in my living room. And yes, I have a new list of products. And like, I went to Target, right? And the Target here is a half mile from campus. Mm-hmm. So it's all, they gutted the thing last week and it's all college move-in stuff. And I'm willing to bet half of the stuff in there, if you would have private labeled 2 months ago, you'd be selling 100 units a day on Amazon. Just the stilts alone, it's a little 4-pack. They look like traffic cones.
Yep.
And I haven't looked on Amazon, but I'm willing to bet that they're selling hundreds, if not thousands, a week right now.
It's funny that you bring that up. Now, I haven't experienced that personally, but if you recall, my son went to college for a semester last year, and my wife did do all that. We, all kinds of organizational stuff and just different little accessories. We actually got him a foam topper for his mattress because the ones there are really just like a brick that you're laying on. Just all kinds of stuff for his dorm room that like you said, you wouldn't necessarily know if you weren't going through that. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like depending on what you're doing.
I just ran over to Amazon quick. They're called bed risers. I ran Jungle Scout. #1 listing, 5,855 monthly sales. #2, 2214, 508, 849, 1039, 441, 594, 809, 2552. And
What
that's
are they selling for?
Between 19 and 25.
I see a set for $23.99. Amazon's best choice is $14.99.
Yeah, and there's some that are $8, there's some that are 10, and it looks like, quite honestly, there's a lot of private labelers in this market, but the volume is there, and it's going to be one of those things where, you know, if you were in it, and it's interesting, Scott, a lot of these guys have orange and brown and wood and a bunch of different variations now, because they know that every year people come back and buy this kind of stuff. But if you're touching that this weekend, take a note of it. Take a look at what the sales are right now, and if it's not too competitive, when you have the time and you have the money to do it, you know, in advance of next year's season, if that's something you want to do, it's definitely something you can do. But this stuff is all around us, and Scott, people ask us all the time, like, oh, you must use the Jungle Scout web app to find all your product ideas. And I don't know that we've ever found something that we've sourced exclusively through the Jungle Scout web app.
No, I think if anything, it might have led me to something. But I've got so many ideas now that I don't
because
really
you see everything that way.
Yeah. Well, no, and I just did exactly what you did, right? I got that idea from you to look at the adjustable bed risers, right? So I go there and I see the top seller, and then I click on the top seller. I go into their brand and I see all of the home products that they're selling. They have 97 products. And in those 97 products, they're doing, oh gosh, I mean, in a 50-pack cloth hanger for $21.99, they're selling $5,873, $129,000 a month in a hanger. And the bed riser, they're doing $140,000, okay? And then a broom hanger for the wall, $7,200. They're doing $87,000, just 4 products. So, yeah. There's a lot of product there, and you know, all you need is one, right? You know, what does Russell say about, you know, you're one funnel away from, you know, whatever, right? Well, you're one product away from basically, you know, getting started and creating a, you know, a revenue stream. You really are. Just takes one, you know. Obviously, it's nicer when you have a variety and you got, you know, you can diversify, and that's what we like to do, and that's what we're doing in the new brand. But we're not. I mean, and here's the other thing, Chris and Dom. I find that once you start in a market, you can start to also see all of the other things that you can now add into that market, and we're finding that. Actually, this morning I had our partner, you know, emailed me or texted me 2 additional products that we want to do, right? Like next. But it's like, and this is what I said. This was my advice. I said, time out. We've already got 10 SKUs, let's call it, with 3 additional variations on the one. Let's focus on them before fourth quarter. Like, let's put all our energy into there versus launching a new product that might get here just in time for fourth quarter. What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
On sourcing a product right now to get it just in time for fourth quarter, or
you know right now we've got a good solid base of products that we're going to really want to push and take all our resources. We're going to want to order enough, so that means we're going to have to over order a little bit, right? Rather than going and then doing a brand new product and then having to launch it during fourth quarter versus taking all that energy and focusing on the SKUs that we have. That's my mindset, because I don't want to get so that we're not putting all the energy into where we can to where we can really capitalize. Then I would launch in first quarter with a new product or 2. What's your thoughts on that?
You're going to hate the answer here.
It depends.
It depends. No, for me, and I think I said this last week, I wouldn't rush it to get it here in fourth quarter. If it's a product that we're going to add, you know, and if it wasn't fourth quarter and we were going to add it anyway, and we would, you know, go through whatever the normal timeline is, and we were just going to add it as soon as we got it, then that's fine. Now, if it's a capital issue, that's a different question, right? But for me,
it is partly. It is partly because, I don't mean to cut you off, but it is partly a cash flow, because at this point, our mindset is really like, we've got money invested, we've got money coming back into the business. Let's try to replenish and actually overbuy on that stuff without having to go in more of a negative. And
that's exactly where I was going with that. Is, you know, that stuff is cash flowed at this point. The existing products are basically cash flowed, or are cash flowed at this point.
Yep.
The only thing that we were still paying, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, was PPC.
Yep.
And that's because we had kept we kept placing bigger and bigger orders to try to get our feet under us, and now they're there. So as soon as we have product, we're going to be okay. But the question then is it something that's going to sell really well in fourth quarter, and is it worth having to collect extra profit? So is it worth putting up the capital, even though you're going in the red further, to get it here a month sooner, just to see what demand is? Is it a test order, right? Can we get a smaller unit quantity just to test it?
Well, I think it's going to matter also is when can we land it? If you can land it in beginning of October,
the next 60 days,
yes, that's the difference, right?
Then I would do it.
If it's going to be, and that's the thing too with this supplier, they are a little bit longer. Now there is another product that we are going to be sourcing and launching in probably beginning of October. So that is a brand new SKU that's going to be coming, and then everything else that's being reordered is actually going to be coming in, and hopefully our one that's been out of inventory is going to be in stock this week.
That was supposed to get here today, right?
It's supposed to be, but I'm crossing my fingers on
I have
that.
a bunch of deliveries coming today too, so I know how you feel.
Dom, what's your thoughts on like right now, and you know what I'm talking about, like we have a good amount of SKUs, and we're investing everything right back in. So any money that's coming through, like, we just got a good payout of, 11, 12 grand. We took that, rolled it right back into buying more inventory or replenishing. And at this point, we've got another 2 SKUs that we could launch. One of them being kind of expensive, to be honest with you. It's going to be a $30 or a $40 product, so it's going to cost us about 10 to land it. We need to order 1,000 units. So that's going to be a good chunk to bite. Would you hold off on that and take the energy and focus in on all the products that we currently have to get those really moving and kind of focusing on them for fourth quarter? Or would you, we already done the legwork to where all we got to do is make the deposit and we can start the order. So we've already done the work. What's your thoughts on that?
I was going to say, with 10 ASINs already, 10 SKUs, that's a lot to concentrate on.
All right, we'll come back to you.
A lot of cat.
And that's kind of where I'm at too, Scott. Like, if it's one of those things where, we get back in stock today or, next week, and we can cash flow that order with some of the profit from the product that we know, at least in theory, is going to take back off, then it might be worth it, as long as that doesn't eat into what our next order is. Because I know the initial strategy for that product was we ordered, 3,000?
Well, we got 1,500 coming, and then there's another 3,000 orders. So you got to remember that 3,000 order has to get paid.
Right, and that's where I was going with that. So as long as it doesn't eat all of that capital to put a down payment on that product, and you're going to get it in time, then it might be worth doing. Because we kind of know, some of those SKUs we are going to have enough inventory for even through Q4, because they're moving 2-3 units a day. They'll go up to 8 or 9. We're probably safe through Q4 on those. Some of the newer ones we don't know yet what they'll hit in Q4. So those are ones that we're going to have to kind of keep some cash in reserve. But it depends. For me, it would depend on how much upside there is for us having that in Q4 versus the cash flow issue, right? So if it's one of those things that is selling now and we know is going to sell more in Q4 and we can get it in time, then it's worth having a conversation about. If it's not, if we don't know demand, if it's a product that we think will do well, then it's probably worth holding off till Q1, even though we know that with our audience and with our email list and with all those other things that we'll be able to push it to a place where it does well. Then we can really focus on pushing it hard. Right. And you and I have talked about some of the stuff we're going to be doing in Q4, and we're going to be marketing pretty heavily to our existing list. So,
yeah, we're going to do, and again, that's going to be exciting. We're going to do like a 10 days to Christmas type thing. It's not going to be, we'll do it before Christmas, obviously, but it'll be a kind of like our little sale. So we have an excuse and a way to give a discount to our existing list. So this way here we can push sales. We may even do something around Thanksgiving, obviously Black Friday, all that stuff, but then we'll do like another little and that way there people are ready and they're prepared to get 10 emails, right? And they have a deadline and all that stuff. All right, cool. Let's take some questions quick.
Kelvin said parents should upload their child's Christmas list as a touch list. There's nothing wrong with that, and if you can find some accessories, some of those types of things, for the toys that your kids want this holiday. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. James wants to know, Scott, what is the best date for having inventory in place in Q4? James, there is no best date for having inventory in place because it depends on when Amazon checks it in. I typically like to tell people to try to get what they think they're going to need for Q4 in by kind of the middle of October. If you ship by the middle of October, it's going to be in plenty of time for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which means it's also going to be in plenty of time for Christmas. The other thing to keep in mind, and again, this is just anecdotal, but Scott, I think you've had the same experience, and Dom, I think you've had the same experience. If you get into that heavy holiday season, Amazon takes longer and longer to check in shipments. So if you're going to have to send in replenishments, send in smaller shipments, even though it costs a little bit more in terms of shipping, because it'll get checked in faster, because it goes directly to the fulfillment centers versus to the distribution centers to get broken up.
Yep.
Something just fell down. But I don't know what it is. There's just a loud crash in my closet, and I have no idea what it was.
Hey, you know what? I forgot to mention here in the beginning, now that we've got a lot of everybody on, today is the celebration of our 400th episode on the podcast. What I decided to do, and I didn't even let Chris know that I was doing this until I actually recorded the podcast, but he's going to be cool with it, I promise. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to give away 2 30-minute coaching calls. So Chris and I will hop on with 2 people, half hour, 30 minutes, and we'll just dig into anything that you're struggling with right now. We'll give you some feedback, some advice, whatever. But the way that you can enter as a celebration of the 400th episode is just go to theamazingseller.com/story. That's going to take you to a Facebook post. And in that post, you are going to be, that was a little squeak there. In that post, you are going to just tell me basically, number 1, how long you've been listening to the podcast. And number 2, you're going to just give us one big takeaway that you've had since listening to the podcast. And right now, the time that I'm actually doing this here, this Facebook Live, there's over 100 of you that have already commented. And I would love to see more. And it's just really awesome to see how long people have been listening and also what they've taken away. It's pretty awesome. It's keeping me pretty fired up, to be honest with you. So, and then in about, I don't know, 3 weeks, we'll go ahead and we'll pick a winner, or actually 2 winners, and then we'll announce it. We'll probably do a Facebook Live on it as well, and then we'll line it up. We'll do 2 30-minute coaching calls, 1 30-minute for each person that wins. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's do it. Actually, you know what else I want to do, Chris? Let's do this. Let's give away a T-shirt while we're here today to celebrate as well. So what I'll do here, you know what? I've got a few of these. These are brand new action tape.
I don't have one of those yet.
You don't even have one yet. So I've got a few of these.
You don't know my address anymore either, though. So
that's true. So I'll send someone that leaves a comment today in the chat. We'll pick one winner before we get off here, and then we'll announce it. And then so all you gotta do, guys, is comment. Just let us know that you're here. Let us know what's happening, and if you have a question, we'll count that as well. So go ahead, Chris.
We got a couple quick questions, and Scott, the URL for them to let us know was theamazingseller.com/story, correct? I didn't totally butcher that up and post a URL that doesn't go anywhere. Awesome. Kelvin wanted to know, he said, what do you guys think about selling produce? Selling produce on Amazon is really difficult because you'd be limited to Amazon Fresh markets, and I don't even know if you can 3PL produce into Amazon at this point. In terms of selling produce in general, I think it's really cool in e-commerce if you do a couple different things. And this is not an Amazon related thing. This is just purely a marketing nerd thing. And it's something that I always look for when I move to a new place, right? Which is either a co-op or a subscription box. One of the coolest things that I've ever gotten, and Scott, I think you and I have talked about this in the past. When I moved to Dallas, I was looking for good quality produce, and produce in the grocery store was really expensive. But I found a co-op online that would work with different people who have produce in the area, and everybody grew a little bit of different stuff. And every week they would bring a box. It was like 12 pounds of produce for $35, so basically $3 a pound of whatever was in season, and they would put it on my front door for $35 a week, right? Subscriptions like that are a really cool way to sell produce online. Selling it one-off is really difficult, but if you can figure out a way to either bundle it or get people to pre-order it and then show up, like here they have a farmer's market up the street from me every Saturday, and I can go online, I can pre-order the produce, and I can pre-order my meat and all the stuff that I want to pick up from the local farmers and do that. Selling it on Amazon is really difficult just because of the timelines that are involved. And I don't even know if they allow you to sell produce or if they source all of that stuff directly. But you can sell it online. You just have to be a little bit smarter about how you market it. It's not one of those things where you can just put up and have it sell. You got to put a little bit of marketing effort behind it. Scott, Dom, I think you guys are kind of on the same page there as well, right? Unless you know something I don't.
No, I'm 100%. I mean, if something can spoil or go bad, I think it's kind of risky, you know? So.
Yeah, and grocery is kind of the same way, but if you're selling, you know, peanut butter, almond butter, stuff made in a factory, it's a little bit easier, but you still have expiration dates to deal with. And that's kind of the biggest struggle with selling any of those kinds of products on Amazon. Even some health and beauty products made with natural ingredients have expiration dates.
Sure.
And that makes that just a little bit of an extra challenge, but if you can figure it out and you're willing to put in the time and the effort, it can absolutely work. Kelvin says, thank you. He gave us some sort of emoji that I can't tell what it is. Catherine wants to know, have any of you purchased inventory from AliExpress? So Catherine, the way that you can test products, and we've done this in the past, I actually have 4 products in the room right now. I have 4 light bulbs that I purchased from AliExpress as kind of a little bit of a test order because I didn't want to pay the full retail price, and I knew about this little private label thing that we could do, and I went, oh, this is interesting. They sell them on AliExpress, and I can source, you know, 100 of them on Alibaba because every light in my house is a pot light for some reason. Not that I'm better at all, but you know, it's one of those things where you can buy on AliExpress. That's not where you're going to buy large orders, in my opinion. You should be moving to Alibaba to do that. But if you're trying to buy a test order, you're trying to get it quickly, you can go through AliExpress to do that. Carmen G says, is AliExpress a site for products that are not doing well and people are trying to liquidate them? No, AliExpress is kind of like BJ's, Costco, or Sam's Club. It's like a wholesale type of Amazon, right? It's not quite direct from the manufacturer, and it's not quite full retail. You're buying basically from wholesalers on AliExpress, so there's a lot of people selling a lot of different things on there. Obviously, if somebody's trying to liquidate something, they could sell it on AliExpress, but lots of people are just selling large quantities of stuff on AliExpress. Brian says, thank you guys, just started 3 weeks ago. Even though it's not going so well, I'm learning a ton. So Brian, let me know where you're struggling. Let's see if we can do a little bit of masterminding here. If you're getting stuck on the product research stuff, let us know that. Whatever stage you're in, let us know what you're struggling with, and we are more than happy to answer those questions for you. And guys, if you do have any questions, leave them in the chat and we'll answer them while we're on here.
Yeah, but one thing I want to say would, you know, kind of have a remark here for Brian that, you know, said, you know, he's struggling, but he's learning a ton. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it, anything that you're doing. Like, you know, you are going to learn if you do, right? So if you do something, you're going to learn through that process. And that could be as simple as ordering a product through AliExpress just to see what it's like and to learn the process, or actually get a small test order through Alibaba and then learn what it's going to take for shipping and what it's going to take to get it inspected or whatever, right? And once you learn the basics of the process, then you can just keep, you know, kind of like tweaking, you know, and figuring it out along the way. So it is a process, and it's funny, I was reading over on the page, and actually I popped over really quickly. I had to turn off my notifications because my notifications were going ding, ding, because everyone here is going over now and leaving their comment there. But you know, a lot of people said, you know, one of the biggest things from the podcast just allowed me to see that, you know, you have to take action to get a result, and that result doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be successful, but you're going to learn through that process. And I love that, because that's exactly what I want to convey through the podcast and just through us doing stuff like this. We don't want you to think that, yes, you just do this, this, and this, and everything is perfect. Everything's going to be great. You're going to make millions. It's not what we're saying, but you're going to learn a ton through that process. So I love hearing that.
And that's something that you touched on a little bit this week, and I think I misquoted it earlier. I think it's Wednesday's episode, right? It was $3.99 with JB.
Yeah, that was with JB. That's a great episode.
And he talks about getting in a funk, right? And a lot of times what happens, and Brian said he's been selling 3 weeks. He's selling 1 or 2 a day, which, Brian, is not bad, especially if you didn't do a launch. And I'm curious to hear, if you just let us know in the comments what you did to kind of launch the product, or did you just put it up and turn on PPC? 1 or 2 a day after a handful of weeks in a lot of products is not a bad thing, as long as you're selling consistently. That's where to get started. But a lot of times, Scott, we can kind of get down on ourselves. We can get stressed out. We can get into a funk. And that was one of the big things that JB kind of crushed for people when he shared his secret, which is getting into a health kick, right? Or getting focused on something else is really kind of my secret to that, right? Something that's not putting you into the funk. Focus your time and energy on that. And magically, you get out of the funk and you get out of your own head and you go, okay, here's a couple things that I can come back and do. And it's just like when you and I do hot seats, Scott, right? Like, people have looked at their stuff, they've looked at it, they've looked at it, they've looked at it. You just need a fresh set of eyes.
That's it.
Right? And if you don't have someone else that can be that fresh set of eyes for you, you can be your own fresh set of eyes by stepping away. And that's something that I think a lot of people that are self-employed, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs miss out on, because we have the Gary Vaynerchuk, and no disrespect to Gary V, but the hustle and grind till you die mindset, right? You got to be on 23 hours a day if your sleep is for the week, right? And that's not necessarily the case. I can't function like that. You know, I can work 18 hours and then I'm done, right? And the last 2 or 3 of those is bad. But if I can step away and get a fresh perspective, a fresh set of eyes, and just do nothing for 2 or 3 days, it's miraculous what happens. We think we have to be busy and doing stuff all the time. And a lot of times stepping back and doing nothing is the best thing that we can do, because it lets us free up our mind and do something else.
Well, you know, it's another good book that would counter that. It would go against that is Essentialism. That's a great book to really talk about. You don't have to be busy to be productive, and sleep is a huge part of that. And that's something that I need to actually follow better. I need to make it a really a clean cut. Like, you know, it's 10 o'clock. You're cut off. Like, you're done. Because then you're going to get the proper sleep, and then when you do, you're going to wake up refreshed. You're going to be in your health kick, whatever, and your mind's going to be right, and then you're going to get more done, and it's going to be better quality done. You're not going to be kind of like scattered. I did want to give just a shout out to JB though. This is his book, and I actually picked it up, bought a hard copy. I always put my hard copies, you can't see it, but over there on my bookshelf. And I like to just have a hard copy, but it's all about alignment, mission, values, and goals. And great book, great read. Love the guy too. And you know, I'm glad that I'm able to have met him. And now that I'm good friends with him, we're going to have him back on the podcast again, and probably in the PLC and the TAS Breakthrough U. We're going to be having him on as an expert guest. So super excited about that. He's an awesome guy. Again, you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, right, guys? So surround yourself with those people, and things will change. Trust me.
The other thing on that note, Scott, and it was funny, I was watching a Tim Ferriss video the other day, and he said, people ask me what I do all day, because, you know, he's written like 4 or 5 New York Times bestsellers. He's an angel investor for startups. So if you guys don't know what an angel investor is, they're like the first people that give money to startups, right? So before Twitter went public, they had an angel investor, right? It's before you go to like a normal person to get money from, you get angel investment. And he does all of this stuff. And he said, honestly, most days I do nothing. I wake up, I have my tea, I meditate, I take the dog for a walk, and then I think about, okay, I have 10 things on my to-do list. If I can do one of these, which one would it be? And is it going to either make the other things on my list easier or irrelevant? Which I think is a fantastic, and it kind of plays back into what you have, a big domino that I can push down right now that's going to take everything else and make it easier for me to do or make it irrelevant. And especially in like the Amazon world, right? If we do product selection correctly, it makes launching easier. It makes marketing easier, which makes growing easier, which makes keeping stuff in stock easier because you have cash flow, right? So there's always something in everything that we're doing that can make everything else easier. And in our case, I think product selection is that thing. So that's just something I wanted to end with. We got a whole bunch of questions.
Let's go.
Either you guys have anything else that you want to chime in with?
No, let's go ahead and let's rip into those questions, and we can go ahead and knock those out and let people get on with their day. Let's go ahead and do it.
Awesome. So Brian is selling 1 or 2 a day right now. He's building his email list, so it sounds like he didn't really launch it. It's just kind of up and selling. It's a slow process, but he's really excited to see what comes out of it. It's hard because I work 2 jobs. I have 2 kids, so I'm working till 1 or 2 and getting up at 7 to work again. Brian, rock on, my friend. I'm curious to know, is your why potentially to spend more time with your family? Is that why you're doing this? Let us know in the comments. Ann wants to know, after your test with AliExpress and you find a good product that is selling, how do you switch to Alibaba for larger orders? Scott, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You're going to go over to Alibaba. You're going to reach out to a supplier over there by you doing a search, and then you're going to start that process. You're going to basically write them a simple email, and I've given email templates in the past where it's really simple. You just say, you know, hi, my name is so-and-so from XYZ, wholesale or whatever. We're looking to add a new garlic press to our line. Here are my questions, and then you're going to ask your questions. How much is a sample? How long does it take? How long does it take for an order? What's your minimum? what's the cost to ship by air, what's the cost to ship by sea. And usually they're not going to come back and be able to answer all of them, but they're going to be able to answer a majority of them, and it also gets you to see if they respond back. And if they do, then from there you can then start to build that relationship. But really, it's that simple. You are going to go there and start to really reach out to a bunch of suppliers and manufacturers, and then you're going to wait to hear back. And the ones that respond back are the ones you're going to start to go a little bit deeper with.
Brian wants to know, do resources like AMZ Promoter work? And the answer is they can work, but you're much better off using your own email list. One, those are going to be people who are raving fans, so they're going to need lower discounts, which means you end up breaking even or making money. And two, you can use that same list over and over and over again. Dan wants to know, what's your opinion on the light bulb niche? Dan, I would probably stay away from light bulbs in general, but if you can figure out how to make a better smart bulb, let me know. J. Greg Cook says, I know it depends on the business model, but how many products do you recommend to be in an Amazon store? And I'm not going to say it depends, but I'm going to give the most vague answer possible. As many as you need and not more. There honestly is no right or wrong here, right? Obviously, the more products we have, the more that we can sell. I would say a good, solid brand has at least 3 to 5 products, right? And if you can expand your range beyond that without reaching and saying, oh, well, you know, I sell kitchen stuff and water bottles go in the kitchen, right? Not necessarily the same thing as a garlic press. Not necessarily going to be as on brand for you, but if you want to expand into that, you can absolutely do that.
I think also, Chris, just think about your customer and what is the next thing that they would buy, or what is another thing that would complement the thing that they just bought.
And that's what we're doing in the new brand.
That's it. Simple. Yep. Hey, before you move on, Dom, are you good to speak over there, or is it still noisy?
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. But
all right. While we got a second though, because I don't know how much time we're going to have with you because of all the construction. Give me an update on 1K FasTrak. What's going on over there?
Yeah, everything is it's going crazy. Yeah, it's awesome. You know, I've been everyone's been doing good, pumping some good numbers on there. I was talking to Adam Hall, who's staying up late. He was saying to get as many SKUs as he could get listed, and taking some of the caffeine coffee that he was trying to sell. He was using it to drink instead of selling it, I guess. But people comment saying they were doing the same thing because that's basically the only time they kind of have to do it, right? Once the kids are in bed sleeping. Am I still there? No.
I lost you. Did Chris go? Or was that me?
I don't know. I'm here, but can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Still live? Okay, good. Well, we don't.
I don't know if we're still live. I mean, it looks like we're live, but Chris is gone. Let me go check the. Let me just go check the. Yeah, you and I are still on, I think.
Okay, so
Chris is black. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just doing that, helping some people with. Little those annoying things, when Amazon comes and tells you that you can't sell a product kind of thing because they're not sure where you got it from. And you got to basically just, show them, I got a real receipt from Walmart or Target, so little things like that. But yeah, a lot of progress. Most people have gone through their house stuff now. They're thrifting, so now they're into going to retailers and looking for stuff. So yeah, it's been going pretty good. And again, a lot of the original 1K FasTrackers are helping them out. Guys like Mike Curry, again, who's he's well on his way to $20,000 now. He'll easily hit that for fourth quarter. So awesome. Mike's he's one of our really good stories. And I know Syed's coming back pretty soon. I talked to him the other day, so he's coming back. He was over in Europe back visiting his family, so he's getting ready, pumped up. He's already got some stuff lined up to send in. So cool. That's good. Everything's looking good. I love it.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I love hearing about it, and I know that, and I'm in there, but not as much as you. But and I see people posting, our students posting screenshots and stuff like that. But if you guys aren't aware, it's really it's our little mini course that allows you to get started if you're stuck. And if you don't know really a product that you want to source, or if you're just feeling like your wheels are turning but you're not getting anywhere, 1K FasTrak was created to really get you to get started. And then from there, get some sales, get some cash flow, and then from there, graduate to private label. And we keep losing signal here. Let's see. Let me see here. Yep, I'm back. Those guys are gone. But what I was saying was, it's a great way for you to be able to really graduate to PL, and that's the 1K FasTrak. So if you guys are not aware of that, you can head over to 1kfasttrack.com. Again, that's 1kfasttrack.com. Check it out. And Kelvin says, "Don't worry, I'm still here, guys." It seems like it's being a little finicky, Chris. This Be Live, huh?
Not so Be Live.
No, it's not so Be Live.
Be Live-ish, I think, is the...
Yeah. So, all right, I think we got like 5 minutes left. Is there any other last-minute questions you wanted to run through here quick before we wrap up or we get booted off? Either one.
Let's run through them. Catherine Bundy wants to know, what's a reasonable time frame before one can become profitable? You can be profitable on that first order. You can be profitable from, basically day one, depending on how fast you're selling. I would typically say it takes you through most of that first order, depending on what your margins are and all that stuff, to be profitable. And then you have to make the decision of how much of that you want to reinvest. Like Scott said, in the new brand, we're not pulling out money. We're reinvesting that into new products. So technically, we're not profitable. The business isn't paying out, but we're cash flow even. Right? Does that make sense, Scott? Mm-hmm. Okay. Michelle wants to know, my variation launches next week. Do I run PPC on the variation pack or the single? They share the same listing. You can do one of two things. You can either let PPC run and see if you pick the way you have it set up now, and see if you pick up some additional sales on other ASINs, and you'll be able to see that inside of your search terms report or your other ASINs report inside of Seller Central. The other thing that you can do is you can just add that same variation to those same campaigns and see which one Amazon prefers to run to and how those two products perform against each other. I then would keep whoever the winner of that is, so you can do either one of those two things. J. Greg Cook wanted us to know, 1K FasTrak is an absolutely awesome course. Thanks, J. Greg.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
And Kelvin says, is there a free alternative to Jungle Scout? Yes, there is. You can use the 999 trick, right? And you guys may or may not have heard us talk about this in the past. Basically, you go to whatever the item is, you add it to the cart, you type in 999 as the quantity, and it will say, oh, there's only 870 in stock. You go back the next day, right around the same time, do the same thing. It says, hey, there's 860 in stock. You cannot buy 999 of them. Say 870 minus 860 is 10. That means they sold 10 over the last few days, right? Now, that doesn't work on every listing, but it's going to work on enough of the people on the page that you'll be able to get a good idea of where everybody's at. I would suggest, if you're heavily going into product research, if you want a tool, Jungle Scout would be the one to get, and I would recommend the Chrome extension over the web app and any of that kind of stuff, because the Chrome extension is going to get you most of what you need up front. The web app is great, but it's not what you would need up front, at least in my opinion. If you're doing stuff like the touch list and all of the in-depth product research, you're going to be clicking that Chrome extension a heck of a lot. And so that would be where I would err. Scott, do you kind of feel the same way on that?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Awesome. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up. That was the last question that I saw. Nick Gamble just wanted to let us know that it depends. But I think I think we're ready to go for today, Scott. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about here before we let everybody continue on with their afternoon?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone once again, allowing me to continue, never knowing when I first started this, 2.5 years ago, the podcast that I would be at, 400 episodes. I remember having a conversation with my wife before I even started, and I just kept thinking, I don't know if I should post it. I don't know, if it's going to, if it's going to be worth it. I don't know if people are going to listen. Like, I don't know. I mean, I want to share it, but, so you always have these doubts, right? You always have these things. And now looking back at it, it's like, man, imagine if I hadn't done it. Like, I wouldn't have like this entire wall, you guys can't see it over here, on, basically everyone's letters saying thank you, and emails and Facebook posts and and all that stuff of people saying how much it's inspired them and helped them, and just even the energy that I'm providing or you're providing or Dom's providing, like to give you guys the resources in believing in yourself to go out there and just do it and figure it out as you go. Like, it's not going to be a one set thing, right? You're just not going to go out there and just figure everything out day one. It's not going to be that way. And just because something worked for me or for Chris or for Dom doesn't mean it's going to work the same for you. Everything is going to be a little bit different. And you just have to be aware of that. That's all. But yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone. Episode 400. Go over there and share your story with me. theamazingseller.com/story. That's going to take you over to a Facebook post. Post on there. I'm going to be reading through all of them. I'll be picking a winner in about 2 to 3 weeks. And then from there, we'll announce that. I'm going to give away 2 30-minute coaching calls with myself and Chris. We'll hop on Skype, and we'll dig into your business or where you're at in the process, and we'll help you. Totally free. We're going to give you guys some of our time. That's all I got. Chris, you got anything? Dom, you got anything before we wrap up? Dom, you want to say anything with the jackhammer in the back?
Yeah, no, they're waiting for me over here. Yeah, no, everything's good, guys. I want to see 1K FasTrak. Let's keep it up. Anybody wants to join, you guys know where it is, right? w1kfasttrack.com. We're always in there helping out people, and everyone that's in there now, let's get ready, guys. Back to school is coming, and they're going to start clearing out a lot of stuff. Get out to Sears. They're liquidating stuff. Find those bankruptcies. Unfortunately, that's the way the market is, but let's get some stuff. Get as much stuff as you can pumped in, because you're going to have to, like we talked earlier, you got to get it in by November. Definitely, like end of October before. That's it. And
cool.
Congratulations again, Scott, on 400, and can't wait to see 500. It'll be around the corner, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, goes quick, man. It goes quick. And I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Dom, and I want to thank Chris for always supporting the TAS family that we have here, the team and everything. And I just want to say thanks to you guys and everyone else that helps with the show notes, my show notes guys, transcripts, all that stuff. I just want to say thank you to everyone for making it happen. So guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Have an awesome, amazing day, weekend, and we'll see you guys on Monday on the podcast. All right. So take care, and as always, take action. We'll see you.